The Jeep Gladiator has been making headlines for quite a while now, and unfortunately not always for the best reasons. But now, Jeep has decided it's time to address the buzz directly. From the very first time this rugged truck was unveiled to the public, it turned a lot of heads. People couldn't stop talking about it. And why wouldn't it? With its Wrangler-inspired design, top-notch off-road capabilities, and that unmistakably tough, adventurous vibe, it seemed destined to be a fan favorite. These features made it a dream ride for anyone who loves blending practicality with a sense of freedom and adventure. But here's the thing, despite its many strengths, the Gladiator hasn't exactly been smooth sailing for everyone. Owners of this truck know better than anyone that it has its fair share of quirks and challenges. Those imperfections have sparked plenty of debate in the Jeep community and beyond. That's why Jeep has finally decided to step in and address the situation head on. So what exactly is wrong with this vehicle? And what has Jeep said about the situation? Join us as we discuss this and more. One of the first things people notice and often gripe about when it comes to the Jeep Gladiator is its small cargo bed. Let's be real, this isn't a truck designed with heavy-duty hauling in mind. The Gladiator was envisioned as an off-road powerhouse and a lifestyle vehicle, not a traditional workhorse. Because of this focus, Jeep only offers it in a crew cab configuration with a short cargo bed measuring just under 5 feet in length. Now, for day-to-day tasks like running errands or tackling weekend DIY projects, that bed size might work just fine. Need to load up some groceries, camping gear, or maybe a couple of small pieces of furniture? No problem. But if your plans include hauling larger or bulkier items, say construction materials or big recreational toys like dirt bikes or ATVs, that's where the Gladiator starts to struggle. Unless you're okay with driving around with the tailgate down, you might find the bed size limiting. For adventure enthusiasts who dream of hitting the trails with all their gear, this short bed can feel like a bit of a letdown. But here's the thing, it's not entirely unusual in the mid-size truck market. If you take a look at the competition, the Gladiator's bed size isn't necessarily a standout flaw, though it's still worth discussing. For instance, the Chevy Colorado has gone all in on short beds with its latest redesign, offering no extended bed options at all. Over at Ford, they haven't committed to bringing an extended cab version of the Ranger to North America, which means mid-size truck buyers here are mostly left with short bed configurations anyway. Still, there's a noticeable difference when you compare the Gladiator to some of the segment leaders. Take the Toyota Tacoma or the Nissan Frontier for example. Both of these trucks continue to offer configurations with 6-foot beds, which provide that crucial extra foot of space. It might not sound like much on paper, but when you're loading up a bunch of gear or trying to avoid driving with the tailgate down all the time, that additional space makes a world of difference. So why did Jeep stick with a 5-foot bed? It comes down to priorities. The Gladiator was designed with off-road capability and rugged appeal front and center, and that required certain compromises. The shorter bed helps maintain its excellent departure angle and overall maneuverability on trails, where longer beds would be more prone to scraping or snagging on obstacles. It's a trade-off that makes sense for what the Gladiator aims to be, a lifestyle vehicle for adventurers and Jeep loyalists who value off-road prowess over pure practicality. That said, this decision does limit its appeal for people who need a truck that's as practical as it is fun, for those who plan to use their pickup for more serious cargo tasks, or who want the versatility to switch between work and play. The Gladiator's small bed might be a deal breaker. Sure, it has plenty of personality, off-road credentials, and that iconic Jeep charm, but in the end, you'll have to decide if its compromises align with your priorities. For anyone needing more serious hauling capabilities, there are plenty of other mid-size pickups that might be a better fit. Another major talking point when it comes to the Jeep Gladiator is its ride quality, or more accurately, the lack thereof. While this truck borrows plenty of great traits from the Wrangler, like its rugged good looks and legendary off-road capabilities, it also carries over some less than stellar quirks that leave drivers wishing for a bit more refinement. Let's break it down in detail. At first glance, you might assume the Gladiator's longer wheelbase would smooth out the ride compared to the Wrangler. On paper, that theory checks out. A longer wheelbase generally helps a vehicle handle bumps and uneven roads better by distributing impacts more evenly, but in practice, the Gladiator's ride still feels rough around the edges, and there are a few key reasons why. The Gladiator, like its Wrangler cousin, uses solid axles at both the front and rear. This setup is a blessing for durability and conquering rugged off-road terrain. If you're crawling over boulders or powering through deep mud, those solid axles are your best friend. However, on everyday roads, they're far less forgiving. Every pothole pothole, crack, or speed bump translates into a jolt you'll feel in the cabin. Instead of a smooth, cushioned glide, the Gladiator often feels like it's bouncing or skipping along, especially at lower speeds. While the suspension is a rock star when it comes to off-road articulation, the ability to flex and adapt to uneven surfaces, it doesn't do the Gladiator any favors on regular streets. This is particularly noticeable when taking corners or sharp turns. The suspension geometry combined with the high ground clearance creates a significant amount of body roll. Add in those chunky off-road ready tires, and the whole setup feels top-heavy, especially when cornering at speed. These massive tires, while excellent for gripping trails, are also a factor in the Gladiator's rough ride on pavement. Their aggressive tread patterns create more road noise and reduce shock absorption, making the Gladiator feel less planted on smooth roads than its competitors. If you're coming from a car or a more road-oriented SUV, the Gladiator's steering might be the biggest adjustment. It's the same setup you'll find in the Wrangler, which is known for its loose, imprecise feel. On winding roads or highways, keeping the Gladiator tracking straight can feel like a full-time job. There's a noticeable lack of feedback and precision, which, combined with the top-heavy design and body roll, can make the truck feel unsettling at higher speeds. While this kind of steering is perfectly fine on trails, where slow, deliberate movements are the norm, it's less ideal for long commutes or highway travel. But it's not all bad news. One area where the Gladiator really shines is braking performance. Jeep has equipped the truck with a braking system that delivers excellent stopping power. Whether you're crawling down a steep incline or stopping short in city traffic, the brake pedal feels natural and responsive, inspiring confidence even in challenging driving situations. Among mid-sized trucks, the Gladiator's brakes are often praised as some of the best in the class. This might not fully make up for the ride quality issues, but it's a small victory worth celebrating. Now, one of the first things Jeep dealers love to highlight about the Gladiator is its passenger-friendly design. Thanks to its crew cab layout, this rugged pickup is supposed to provide enough space for adults to sit comfortably in both the front and rear rows. But in reality, it's not quite as straightforward as it sounds. While the design has its perks, there are a few trade-offs that might make you rethink just how friendly this space really is, especially if you're stuck in the back seat. The amount of backseat legroom you'll get in the Gladiator largely depends on the size of the driver and front passenger. If you're cruising with tall friends or family members who need to slide those front seats all the way back, the rear passengers might find themselves playing a not-so-fun game of need-a-seat shuffle. In short, legroom becomes a bit of a premium. That said, not all hope is lost. Jeep's boxy cabin design comes through in other areas, offering plenty of shoulder and headroom. If you've ever felt claustrophobic in smaller vehicles, you'll appreciate how open and airy the Gladiator feels up top. Taller passengers might feel a little cramped in the legs, but they won't have to duck or slouch to fit comfortably in the rear seats. That's a win for anyone who's spent long trips stuck in the back of tighter cabins. Still, if we're being completely honest, the Gladiator's cabin isn't perfect for passengers, especially when compared to some of its competitors. But here's the thing, this isn't a problem exclusive to Jeep. Most midsize pickups on the market face similar challenges when it comes to backseat space. For example, the Toyota Tacoma and Chevrolet Colorado also fall short of delivering a true spacious feel for rear passengers. If you're looking for a mid-sized truck that truly prioritizes passenger comfort, you might want to check out the Honda Ridgeline. Unlike the Gladiator, the Ridgeline uses a unibody design that allows for more room inside the cabin. Rear passengers in a Ridgeline can stretch out in relative comfort, making it the rare exception in this category. However, keep in mind that the Ridgeline's focus on comfort comes with its own set of compromises. It lacks the rugged off-road prowess that defines trucks like the Gladiator. In the end, the Gladiator strikes a balance. It's not the most spacious midsize truck out there, but it delivers enough room for most passengers in most situations, especially if you're not traveling with a carload of 6-footers. Moving on, one thing absolutely no one likes about the Gladiator is the fuel economy. The Gladiator's fuel economy has been a sore spot for quite some time, especially with the trusty but thirsty 3.6-liter V6 engine. Sure, it cranks out a respectable 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, which is decent performance for its class. But let's be honest, it's like trying to keep up with marathon runners while wearing hiking boots. It gets the job done, but not as efficiently as its peers. Jeep claims this V6 delivers 16 miles per gallon in the city and 23 miles per gallon on the highway if you're working with the manual transmission. Opt for the automatic, and those numbers shift slightly to 17 in the city and 22 on the highway. Unfortunately, neither option sets any records. Quite the opposite, really. These are among the least impressive figures in the midsize truck segment, especially now that many competitors are embracing smaller, turbocharged 4-cylinder engines, which deliver similar or better performance with less strain on your wallet at the pump. To address these fuel economy woes, Jeep introduced a diesel option a few years back. This version, powered by a torquey 3.0 liter EcoDiesel V6, promised 22 miles per gallon in the city and 28 on the highway. That's a big step up from the gas-powered V6, and let's not overlook its jaw-dropping max torque of 442 pound-feet, making it a beast for towing and off-road adventures. But here's the catch. It came with a hefty price tag. Between the higher cost of the diesel engine itself and the premium price of diesel fuel, the savings at the pump weren't enough to win over most buyers. Plus, the upfront cost made it a tougher sell compared to rivals offering more budget-friendly options. As a result, Jeep decided to phase out the diesel-powered Gladiator altogether. So, what's the new plan? Well, a plug-in hybrid Gladiator. This model is based on a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine paired with an electric motor. Jeep is targeting around 21 miles per gallon combined, which still isn't groundbreaking. But here's the silver lining. The hybrid setup offers a small electric-only range of roughly 20 miles. That means you can tackle short commutes or errands without using a drop of gas, which is a step in the right direction for eco-conscious drivers. Even more impressive is the performance boost. The hybrid system cranks out a combined 375 horsepower and a jaw-dropping 470 pound-feet of torque, putting it ahead of many competitors in raw pulling power. Whether you're towing a trailer or tackling rugged trails, this new powertrain might just strike the balance between capability and efficiency that Gladiator fans have been waiting for. Still, it's worth keeping an eye on the competition. Rivals like the Ford Ranger and Toyota Tacoma are making strides in both performance and efficiency, so the Gladiator will need more than rugged charm to stay competitive. Let's move on to some annoying interior features. The Jeep Gladiator has a lot going for it, especially when it comes to its cabin. The interior strikes a fantastic balance between rugged charm and a modern aesthetic, offering a delightful mix of retro elements and contemporary functionality. Jeep's infotainment system is one of the best in the industry, and with an update bringing an even larger screen, it's clear they are focused on enhancing the tech experience. But, like every vehicle, the Gladiator's cabin isn't without its quirks, and some of these can be pretty frustrating for owners. One of the most common complaints among Gladiator owners is the start-stop system. This feature is supposed to improve fuel efficiency by automatically shutting off the engine when the vehicle comes to a stop, but here's the catch. It resets itself every time the truck is restarted, so even if you turned it off during your last drive, you'll have to do it all over again the next time you get behind the wheel. Many drivers find this feature more irritating than helpful, especially because most don't actually like using it. To make matters worse, the system itself can be inconsistent. For example, it might refuse to turn off the engine if the climate control is running or if certain electrical accessories are in use. This unpredictability adds to the frustration, leaving drivers wondering why the system is even there if it doesn't work as advertised. Another point of contention is the forward collision warning system. While safety is always a priority, this system seems to have taken the better safe than sorry mantra a bit too far. Many owners describe it as overly sensitive, often reacting to situations that don't actually require intervention. Imagine driving on a calm road only to be startled by the system beeping or flashing at you unnecessarily. It's enough to make anyone's heart race. Jeep could definitely fine-tune this feature to make it more accurate and less intrusive. Then there's the issue of towing. The Gladiator may be an off-road beast, but it's also a pickup truck, and towing is one of its primary roles. With towing ratings that are among the highest in its class, it's surprising and a little disappointing that Jeep doesn't include a trailer brake controller as a standard or even optional feature. This omission feels like a missed opportunity, especially for those who rely on the Gladiator for hauling heavy loads. Sure, you can install an aftermarket brake controller, but that involves extra effort and expense. Why not make life easier for owners by offering it straight from the factory? While the Jeep Gladiator's cabin has plenty to love, these small annoyances can add up, impacting the overall ownership experience. Whether it's the persistence of the start-stop system, the overly cautious collision warning, or the lack of a trailer brake controller, these issues show that even the most capable vehicles have room for improvement. That said, Jeep enthusiasts are known for their dedication, and many are willing to overlook these flaws in exchange for the Gladiator's rugged performance and undeniable charm. We also need to talk about the level of noise inside the Gladiator. Honestly, this is one of the biggest gripes people have about this rugged pickup, and it's easy to see or hear why. The Gladiator's design is all about adventure, with its high ground clearance, chunky all-terrain tires, and not so great drag coefficient. While these features make it a beast on off-road trails, they also turn the cabin into one of the loudest in its class when you hit the open road. Picture this: as soon as you get up to highway speeds, the sound of wind whipping around the vehicle, the hum of the tires on the pavement, and even road vibrations come together to create a symphony of noise. This isn't your regular turn up the radio to drown it out situation. It's more like a constant background soundtrack of Mother Nature and machinery working overtime. It's loud enough to make chatting with passengers or taking a phone call feel like you're shouting over a rock concert. And let's be honest, after a while, that level of noise can make even the shortest road trip feel like a test of endurance. Now, to be fair, this isn't entirely unexpected given the Gladiator's design philosophy. Jeep built this truck for people who want to take on mountains, deserts, and muddy trails, not just suburban streets or smooth highways. The high ground clearance is essential for off-roading, and those chunky all-terrain tires are designed to handle everything from loose gravel to deep snow. Plus, the boxy shape, while iconic, doesn't exactly cut through the air like a sleek sports car. All of these features are part of what makes the Gladiator such a capable off-road machine, but they come at the cost of aerodynamics and cabin comfort. But the good news is that Jeep seems to have heard the feedback loud and clear, pun intended. With the upcoming refresh of the Gladiator, they're tackling this issue head on. The updates include a fancy new active noise cancellation system, which is a big deal. This system uses microphones and speakers to detect and cancel out unwanted sounds, like road noise and wind turbulence. Think of it as noise-canceling headphones, but for your entire car. Jeep isn't stopping there though. They're also making physical upgrades to the cabin itself. The glass is getting thicker, which should help block out external noise, especially at higher speeds. The carpeting is being upgraded too, with more luxurious and sound-absorbing materials. And those little nooks and crannies in the vehicle's frame, Jeep is filling them with sound-deadening foam to stop vibrations and echoes before they even reach the cabin. These changes are expected to make the Gladiator's interior up to 50% quieter, according to Jeep. That's a pretty bold claim. Of course, numbers on paper are one thing, but we'll have to wait and see, or hear, how it all comes together once the new model is out. Will these upgrades turn the Gladiator into a whisper-quiet luxury car? Probably not. That's not the Jeep way. But if they can make the cabin comfortable enough for long road trips and easier conversations, it could be a game changer for owners who want the best of both worlds: off-road capability and on-road livability. It's also worth noting that Jeep isn't the only brand trying to strike this balance. Competitors like the Ford Ranger and Toyota Tacoma have been stepping up their game in terms of cabin comfort, so this refresh could be Jeep's way of staying ahead in a competitive market. If the upgrades deliver as promised, it could make the Gladiator an even better companion for both off-road adventures and those long highway drives. Finally, the most important issue with the Gladiator is the price. Now, we all know the Gladiator brings a lot to the table: unique styling, unmatched off-road performance, and that undeniable Jeep charisma. But the big question is, does all that really justify the hefty price tag? Honestly, it's a tough call, and to start, the base Gladiator comes in at a little over $40,000, which is already quite steep for a mid-size pickup. Want the top-of-the-line version with all the bells and whistles? Get ready to shell out around $60,000. That's serious money. To put it into perspective, most competitors like the Toyota Tacoma, Ford Ranger, and Chevy Colorado start at slightly under or just above $30,000. That's a $10,000 difference, enough to make anyone stop and think. Now, to be fair, the Gladiator does come with some features that help justify at least part of the price. Standard four-wheel drive, for instance, is a huge plus, especially for adventure seekers who want to hit the trail straight out of the dealership. The rugged off-road capabilities, including features like skid plates, rock rails, and those beefy all-terrain tires, also set the Gladiator apart from most of its competition. These are things that would cost extra or might not even be available on other mid-size pickups. But then there are the areas where the Gladiator falls short, and this is where the price starts to feel a bit harder to swallow. Let's talk about the engine. It's a pretty outdated V6 that, while reliable, doesn't exactly scream modern engineering. The performance is adequate, but far from impressive, and the fuel economy leaves a lot to be desired. In a world where competitors are rolling out turbocharged engines and hybrid options, the Gladiator feels like it's stuck in the past. And when you're spending upwards of $40,000, adequate just doesn't cut it. Another sticking point is the standard equipment package. For a truck that starts at over $40,000, you might expect a few more creature comforts, right? But the base Gladiator feels pretty bare bones. Basic infotainment, minimal tech features, and an interior that's more utilitarian than upscale can leave you wondering where all that money is going. Sure, the higher trims bring more luxury and tech, but by the time you get there, you're well into full-size pickup territory, and that's where the competition really heats up. Full-size trucks like the Chevy Silverado, Ram 1500, and Ford F-150 often start at lower prices than the Gladiator. Even the entry-level versions of these trucks offer comparable or better performance, more spacious interiors, and better fuel economy. So when you're looking at a $60,000 Gladiator, it's hard not to wonder if you'd be better off with a full-size pickup instead. So what do you think about the Jeep Gladiator? Let us know in the comments section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos. While you're still here, click the video on your screen to see more interesting content like this one.